Ezra Levant, great to see you.
Thank you, you too.
And you in London means one thing. We're here at the High Court, your favourite spot in London. I know you don't go anywhere else in London but the High Court. Tommy Robinson, there was a case today. You've just flown in. Do you want to let us know what it was about, overturning something, and then the positive decision that we've just heard?
Sure. I flew 7 hours. It was a 2-hour cab ride to get into the city. It was an hour on the Toronto side, so that's 10 hours I've journeyed for a half-hour court hearing. But I'm happy for it because it's good news. Tommy was in prison for contempt of court. That's not a crime. It's a very unusual kind of law where you sort of offend the judge himself. So to get out of the pickle, you've got to fix things with that judge. It's not even a neutral judge. It's a weird kind of law. It's called purging your contempt. And you've got to basically show the court that you're governable, that you submit to their authority.
Tommy submit?
Well, that's the thing. As you know, years ago, Tommy worked for Rebel News, yes. and I like to say Tommy didn't work for Rebel News. Tommy worked at Rebel News. Tommy is not good at having bosses. I'm joking around. That's one of the characteristics about him that makes him so effective is his stubbornness, to the point that other people would call it irrational, but it's not irrational. It's just a deeply principled man. The rules of contempt and the rules in general are not built for conscientious objectors. The punitive elements of our law are enough to guide most people, but there are some unique people in the sweep of time who you can punish them and they take it as a badge of honor. Tommy Robinson is such a man. And I was there 7 months ago when the judge, basically the same judge, said, if you take that video, Tommy posted a video to the internet, a documentary called Silenced. And a judge said, don't do that. I'm going to order you not to do that. Tommy did it anyways. And Judge Jeremy Johnson, 7 months ago, said, Mr. Yaxley Lennon, if you take that down, I will lop months off your sentence. And he would not. And how many people do you know would take, and this is not just any old prison. This is a maximum security prison full of murderers, and it's even worse than that. Tommy was kept in solitary confinement. You're going to find this hard to believe. They emptied out 16 cells to make a whole wing of the prison empty, and then when Tommy said he wanted to get out of his cell to work painting, he actually wanted to interact with people because he was in solitary. They emptied out another 8 cells for him to paint those cells solitary.
And one thing, our prisons are overflowing, and yet there's spare space.
They sent 24 criminals they released 24 violent criminals to hold Tommy Robinson. Can you just stop and think about that? Tommy Robinson made a thought crime. It was a words crime. It wasn't a crime at all. 24 actual criminals were set free to hold him. That's the state of the UK, but you know that. According to the Times of London, every day 30 people are arrested for non-crime hate incidents on social media. And Tommy's just the most spectacular case and the most stubborn. Anyhow, here's the news. Tommy has purged his contempt by taking down the tweet in question and by demonstrating to the judge that he was trying to get other people to take it down, and in all but a handful of cases was successful. The judge noted that Tommy was not contrite and did not apologize, but that Tommy did make it clear that in the future, if he disagrees with a court order, he'll appeal it rather than defying it. And I think that's wise anyways. Tommy's a tough guy, physically tough, mentally tough, but solitary confinement is generally regarded as a form of torture. It's used typically for someone who's already in prison who engages in misconduct again in prison. What do you do with someone in prison who misbehaves in prison? You can't imprison him, he's already in prison. You put him in the hole. You put him in a box. It's a short-term form of torture that will break a man's spirit. That's why you do it. No human is meant to be in that condition for 7 months. I think it was actually a grave mark on the British prison system, and the prison governor at HMP Woodhill, Nicola Marfleet,
Lord Pearson has written to her numerous times, and she just says, well, I can do what I like because the law lets me do what I like.
She is a DEI hire. And the prison is completely out of control. It's run by the gangs. That's my point. That's why they had to let 24 violent criminals free to hold Tommy, because Nicola Marfleet does not actually control the prison. And to appear butch, to appear in control, she takes out her vengeance on Tommy Robinson. Let me give you one tiny example. Tommy's got 3 teenage kids. So he had certain telephone privileges, but Marfleet said only during the day. Well, the kids are at school. Oh, well, he has his phone privileges, doesn't he? Yeah, when the kids are at school. And constantly breaking visitor appointments, including myself. I had one scheduled. I was coming over. Oh, sorry, you're not allowed. Whimsical, capricious, the less little things like banning GB News from the prison TV. I mean, how petty. This spiteful, sadistic woman, Nicola Marfleet, whose prison is completely out of control. But boy, she shows how butch she is by taking on Tommy. Anyways, long story short, Tommy Robinson will be out in the next few days. And, 165 million people did watch that documentary before Tommy took it down. That's more than it's about double the population of the UK, more than double the population of the UK. That's astonishing.
And of course, Elon Musk has reposted it, and Elon Musk made Tommy probably the most famous political prisoner in the world from the beginning of this year. And that suddenly put Tommy in a different position where the world now knows, instead of this being a UK problem, it's a world issue.
You know what? On New Year's Day, Elon Musk tweeted, "Free Tommy Robinson."
And you looked at your phone, thought, what's happening?
Oh, yeah. And you know what? I wrote a public note back to Elon Musk, and he retweeted that, got 41 million views. I mean, it's astonishing to engage with such a prominent and powerful man, and for him to raise the issue of freedom of speech. And I should note that when Keir Starmer visited the White House, President Trump, Vice President Vance, they raised the issue of freedom of speech with the PM. Now, they made specific reference to a case of Brits who peacefully pray in an abortion setting and are arrested for that.
Where it's illegal to pray within 500 feet of an abortion clinic.
And where the cops ask you what you're praying in your mind. Absolutely astonishing. That statistic I mentioned earlier about the 30 arrests a day. It was Konstantin Kisin who said, how many do you think are arrested per day in Russia? Now, I wouldn't want to be in Russia. I would be probably arrested because I prickle back against the government, and I'm not a fan of Vladimir Putin. He's a former KGB agent. I would not do well in Russia. But what would we say if 30 people a day were arrested in Russia for social media? We would call that what it is, which is an authoritarian police state. Well, that's the UK for you today, and especially on issues where Keir Starmer has a sensitive spot. Issues about Islam, migration, terrorism, grooming gangs, rape gangs. These are the things that Keir Starmer doesn't want to be talked about. And it's not just Keir Starmer. I can't put it on him. 14 years of Conservatives. Yeah. Anyways, I'm blabbing too much. Forgive me. It's the second wind. I haven't slept in a day, but I'm glad to be here for some happy news. The headline is Tommy Robinson will go free in a matter of days.
To see the way Ezra has dressed up, and I haven't, and I've come from around the corner.
It's just my jacket. It's just a jacket. I'm wearing blue jeans.
So Ezra, just last thing, you've flown in. You were probably expecting this to last all day. It's been 30 minutes. You flew all night for 30 minutes, but we've had a huge result. And you said that you believe it's going to be released, and I thought, that's Ezra just being eternally optimistic. But actually, your view and your perspective on this was bang on correct.
I've read probably 50 contempt of court cases in the UK, because Tommy, this is his third contempt case, going from memory, and I've read them. I've read most of them. Not most. I've read a great number, and in almost every case, the judge is simply looking for the contemner, that's the person who's in trouble, to say, "I submit." And when you think about it, that is necessary for the rule of law. If we all defied judgments that we disagreed with, then the courts would have no power. And there was a moment in there where the judge said, Tommy has recognized that if there's a court order he doesn't like, the right thing to do is to appeal it rather than break it. And who could argue with that? Now, some might say Tommy Robinson can't get a fair trial in the United Kingdom, that the judges are not neutral arbiters, that he is treated as an enemy of the state. And there's a lot to that. I think there is a two-tier justice system in this country. I don't think anyone can deny that. When you look at how social media posts during some of the Southport riots sent people to prison for 2-3 years for hurty words and actual violence. I think of the by-election up in Runcorn, where Iron Mike, the Labour MP, beat the tar out of a constituent. What did he serve? 2 days in jail for that? Because he's one of the righteous people, one of our betters. Whereas, I don't need to tell you that, you know that better than me. But today was a good day. Tommy will be out, and he still faces other legal matters. He still faces a charge under the Terrorism Act for not giving the police the passcode to his phone. But we'll slowly fight these fights, and I can tell you that Tommy is known around the world, and of course across the UK, but around the world. And he has supporters around the world, and that's why I came in today. I knew it would be brief. I didn't think it would be half an hour. I thought it would be an hour. But really, as soon as the judge was shown that Tommy had purged his contempt, after 7 months in solitary confinement, there was no way he could keep him in.
And Tommy is certainly that verse, a prophet without honour in his own town. That's certainly for Tommy. You're hanging around, are you, in London for a few days?
Yeah, I'll be here. I want to be here for when Tommy is released, and we don't know for certain when that's going to be. So instead of flying home tonight, which I normally come and go in the same day, I'm going to putter around London for a couple of days. I'm going to have a nice snooze to catch up. And you know what? This weather is unseasonably lovely. And I don't mind a little bit of the gloomy overcast. To me, that's London. But it's a wonderful city. It's got its problems, but it really is the greatest city in the world.
Thank you, Ezra.
Cheers. Good to see you again.